Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gersh1, and you were watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about the Rak'Gol. If you guys have not seen part 1, please click on the link above or below. That's going to take you to part 1 where we explain what the Rak'Gol race is. If you're new to the channel, we put out Warhammer 40K videos every single day, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. With that said, let's get into 40 Facts About the Rak'Gol. The Rak'Gol are savage and brutal. They are likened to primitive beasts instead of an advanced Xeno species. Yet they have progressed to the point of being able to build crude void ships and bionics. Rak'Gol are very effective hunters, and they are utterly remorseless killers. They are led by a caste known as Abominations, aptly named, for outsiders regard their entire appearance, from their patchwork stitched together hides to their crude bionics, as utterly grotesque. Their societal system seems to have a hierarchy, with older and more powerful abominations controlling groups consisting of several vessels and their attendant crews. They have never shown the slightest interest in communicating with other intelligent species, or interacting in any way except for slaughtering all they come across. Although several sects of the Magos Biologists and the Adeptus Mechanicus have attempted to capture the Rak'Gol alive, every attempt thus far has failed. When faced with capture, Rak'Gol go completely berserk, throwing themselves at any containment without regard of their own well-being until they escape, destroy themselves, or must be put down by their captors. Surprisingly little is known about the Rak'Gol society. Most of what is known is extracted through various encounters and tales of their attacks on colonies within the Expanse. Their language is indecipherable, consisting of nothing more than screeches and rasps. No one knows their point of origin, or even if they originated from the Coronus Expanse. It is possible that they have a homeworld, or clutches of several, where they issue from and construct their warships. If this is true, the world must be far beyond the explored bounds of the Expanse, or hidden from the prying eyes by some sort of phenomena. There appears to be no explanation as to why they attack the ships or colonies of the Expanse, and it might very well be an aspect of their alien psychology. The Rak'Gol are pack hunters. Within their society, there is nothing more important than the kill, and much of their society revolves around slaughter. From a young age, the brood are taught to work together, meshing their strengths with others' weaknesses, so that the pack as a whole succeeds where the individual will not. As they grow older, they are taught different types of tactics, and eventually they are sent out with a clutch master to be blooded or die in the process. Once a Rak'Gol has been in combat, they are often gifted with bionics and cybernetics by their clutch master, in order to make them more effective at death and slaughter. Eventually, those who manage to live long enough will appear to be more machine than living, a brutal and remorseless killing engine of death. The imperial world of Nibsun Prize was once held by human colonists, but lost to the Imperium for several millennia. The inhabitants lived a simple agrarian lifestyle on a planet that possessed long growing seasons. Most of the colonists lived peaceful lives of quiet contemplation and farming. Their advanced technology regressed and stagnated to the point that their agricultural equipment was primarily powered by native animals. Vessels associated with House Mako re-established contact with Nibsun's primes in the year 784 of the 41st millennium. At that time, they created agreements to exchange substantial portions of the world's agriculture output in trade for off-world communication, information, and a selection of imperial supplies. The arrangement worked effectively for just over a decade of regular shipment and communications. Then the Sacred Testament arrived to find the world a toxic wasteland, its population completely eliminated, its landscape devastated with huge craters, and its atmosphere a radioactive hell. Ship sensors suggest that the Rak'Gol vessels may have crashed into the surface of the planet, unleashing the radiation, but no further details have been recovered, though rumors suggest that House Mako have made several failed attempts to recover the remains of the crashed Xeno starship. Just like Nibsun Prize, the Rak'Gol have eradicated the sentient life on dozens of planets. In some instances, these were isolated populations of primitive Xenos. In others, the creatures destroyed large human settlements. Throughout this time, no known humans have ever established a meaningful dialogue with this species. Rather, attempts at communication have always ended with violent conflict, as the Xenos continuously attack any whom they encounter. As a consequence, little is directly known of their culture, philosophy, or language, or even if they possess any of these traits. Assumptions have been made regarding all these matters, particularly in concert with the information obtained from other Xeno species concerning encounters with the Rak'Gol. Even prior to the first confirmed human losses, races such as the Strixus and the Vicrene mention the Rak'Gol when dealing with human cultures. Ancient legends from several cultures spoke of a race that traveled the stars, purging planets as they went. The capabilities accorded to these Xenos vary from world to world, but a few factors were consistent with modern reports from Imperial sources. The first of these issues is the clear fact that the attackers were relentless and merciless. Similarly, these mythical terrors were described as corrupted and armed with fell mechanical enhancements. The legends disagree on the reason for this, but all clearly indicate that their mechanical components were designed to increase their combat capabilities. Some of the tales said that the creatures hated themselves as much as they hated other life, and thus replaced components to distance themselves from their physical form. Others suggest that the Rak'Gol were a race created from nothing by another godlike race, and that the mechanical components were simply used to finish the job, replacing those parts that could not be crafted biologically. Additional stories suggest that the cybernetic implants might be associated with status, purity, or serve as a requirement for reproduction. However, the truth is likely to remain unknown until Imperial agencies capture and interrogate one of these Xenos. Most of the confirmed knowledge of Rak'Gol culture has been discovered through the analysis of combat sites. Since the earliest known encounters with these Xenos, those few humans who survived have often been thoroughly questioned, whether by a rogue trader who wants to see the Rak'Gol destroyed, a renegade Magos biologist, or even the Inquisition. However, such questioning often proves largely futile, as the survivors are often plagued by horrible mental trauma. It is unclear if this damage was a consequence of the horrors that they faced, or if it is a direct consequence of any psyker that may be found amongst the Rak'Gol. Astropaths used in these investigations have only returned inconsistent reports after analyzing surviving victims. Some insist that the degree of mental scarring could only be a consequence of mental assault, while others argue that the damage is more likely due to a combination of the reaction to an extreme terror and the possible warp taint. While individual reports are rarely particularly informative, members of the Inquisition's Ordo Xenos have recently shed additional light upon the Rak'Gol through comprehensive analysis of compiled studies. It is clear that the creatures possess a hierarchy. Their command structure appears to be based on a combination of martial prowess and cybernetic enhancement. Currently, it remains unclear if these enhancements are attained only after the wielder has obtained a certain degree of success, or if those who possess such enhancements build up the necessary combat capabilities to advance their own ranks. The Rak'Gol sometimes construct vast orbital stations, housing a population similar to those found in their colonies. As far as can be determined by an examination of reported encounters, there is no comprehensible pattern determining which worlds are occupied from the surface and which will be occupied from orbit. Issues of atmosphere, potential foodstuff, and resources do not seem to play into whatever alien priorities govern the decisions of the Rak'Gol in this matter. A widely circulated but unverified tale even claims that the Xenos aboard an orbital station were once discovered in the process of examining their planet's surface, only to turn the Void Station's weaponry on the continent they occupied, reducing it to rubble as soon as the observers were detected. In all recorded encounters with the Rak'Gol orbitals, their Void Stations were heavily armed and well protected, with even the most densely populated habitats being the equivalent of a dedicated defense station. They bristle with the infamous howler cannons and roarer beams found on their warships, although they usually lack torpedoes or launch bays for void fighters. Imperial strategists suggest that this could be due to the fact that the Xenos are known to construct variant designs exclusively for raiding and slave-taking rather than actual weapons. Though Rak'Gols in orbital habitations do not seem to make significant use of the planet they circle, they still scar it with the rad zones for which they are known. It is believed that their stations are often constructed with a weapon specially designed for such work, although this is impossible to verify since no examples of this has ever been captured. Major Rak'Gol worlds beyond the Ellenic depths remain scattered and rare for the time being, but each is a unique horror, surrounded by a fleet devoted to no more than the goal of annihilation. As long as a single such stronghold of foulness and depravity exists, it remains too many of the Imperial's comfort. Where these worlds are is known. They are denoted on every chart, rudder, and navigational primer as an area of extreme peril, but unfortunately many more remain undocumented. Those star systems which their ships can easily reach are often subjected to the same treatment as an additional precaution. The surfaces of these planets are usually reduced to nothing but a radioactive wasteland, broken only by cyclopean monoliths and hideous fortresses, with walls like enormous knives or fangs thrust forth from the earth. Innumerable minor rad zones mark the surface like a pox. The larger examples stand out like enormous scars. Mercifully, the Rak'Gol have concentrated most of their planets at this development level in or near the Ellenic depths, and the majority of the remainder can be found in the stretches of the expanse known as the Rak'Gol activity. When the Rak'Gol come into contact with another intelligent species, only one side ever survives. No exceptions to this rule have ever been encountered anywhere in the expanse, unless one counts conflicts as yet unresolved. As such, a star system determined to have inhabitants on multiple planets cannot have a Rak'Gol planets alongside the holding of their species. Instead, Rak'Gol planets are often found near worlds with archaeotech caches or Xenos ruins, but these are usually of limited abundance, given the extreme thoroughness of destroying the Rak'Gols. And those were 40 facts about the Rak'Gols. We're not done. We're going to go into each individual type of Rak'Gol, because like we said in part 1, I believe, and part of this video, there are different varieties of these creatures, and we're going to get into those different varieties in part 3. So be sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you guys have any suggestions for other topic ideas, please comment down below. Don't forget to put suggestion followed by whatever topic you guys would like us to cover. With that said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. This was Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate signing out.